Salut tout le monde. Hello everyone, it's Steven here, and today I want to share a few tips of what to do before you decide to study abroad. There are a lot of things, so this is just one part of it. Here are some tips when you're thinking about studying abroad in general. The first tip. So, first thing is figure out as much as possible. I say that because it is essential to figure out what type of program you want, what culture you would like to check out, and also what language you are very interested in learning. In this case, I am suggesting for an immersion program where it is through a university from the US, but it can also apply to an exchange program. It may be difficult depending if you do or don't know the language, and I highly recommend taking some classes before going to that country, as, of course, there are going to be regulations on that. I would recommend that it should benefit you academically and also as a person. Academically, I declared a minor in French, and at that time, I wanted to complete my music degree and have a French minor within 4 years. 4 years. Now, that in the music world, in education, actually is kind of difficult as it's a 5 year program put into four, if you look at it. And with the study abroad, I was able to knock 2 classes out of the 6 classes that I needed. And I already had knocked out 4 by the time I ended my program. So I only needed 2 more classes before I went off student teaching. However, I was also able to have a higher understanding of French, and I was able to understand the difference between the American culture and the French culture a lot more. And I was also able to benefit in my conversation, as I did not take a conversation class, and that actually was somewhat of a downfall on my side for not taking that in time, but unfortunately that's how certain classes roll. Tip number 2. So another part of tip 1 is researching the program's cost, what would be included and what would not be included, on top of your personal expenses. So for an example, what would be included would probably be your rooming and also your tuition. Those are the main things that will be included in your tuition bill. However, what might not be included would be your airfare, your plane ticket, which can be expensive. To any country, it can be very expensive. Sometimes maybe purchasing a trip that does layover might be more cheaper than that. So, and when I looked it up, it was about $800 for a layover, but instead I ended up getting a round trip ticket, which was $1,000. So that's a huge difference, saving up $200 for more personal expenses. Excursions, on the other hand, depend on the program. Some excursions may be included in the tuition, however, some excursions may be an additional cost once the program notifies you about it. I was lucky that all my excursions that I did, like going to the Opera Garnier and also going to see the catacombs, were included part of my tuition. However, some programs may or may not include that. So, I would definitely say that to double check on those excursions and also what is and what isn't included. And sometimes your meals are not included, as if you are doing a homestay, you're borrowing the kitchen and sharing the kitchen with your host family, which is fair. And that's what I did. I personally bought most of my meals, and I think the only times I didn't purchase it was the first time, the first couple of days. So, and also my last dinner there in France. So, my first meal in France was dinner, And then the following day, I went and I grabbed a sandwich, and it was actually free. Sometimes we'll get snacks once in a while, and that was treated by the head professor of the department, but it doesn't always happen depending on the program. So please make sure you save enough money for food on top of buying your souvenirs, because food is important. And yeah. Tip number 3. So another thing to consider is your proficiency in that language. So for my program, I had to have the equivalent to their highest general grammar program that they've had. And luckily, I was completing that within the fall semester, and I had to send an official transcript over to the university that I was doing the program with in order for them to know that I was taking the last and final grammar course that we offer, which was the equivalent. However, some programs that are not university based, like CEA, is a different program that is on its own. They actually have certain locations in France and possibly other countries where you can learn the language from scratch. So, and when I looked into that, I will say that Nice might be a great option for those that don't really know much French or are not that comfortable. And you can spend about 4 weeks there per course, per grammar course, and you get about 4 credits, which isn't that bad. And since Nice is highly a tourist area, you'll be able to use English a lot, but also I recommend trying to use your French a little bit here and there when you learn. Okay, the 4th tip. So I want to say it kind of goes back to 1 and 2, and this is time equals finance. Why I say time equals finance? Well, that's because you want to be able to mathematically calculate how much you're spending per week for every single amount that you are paying for. So that includes the airfare, that includes your tuition, that includes your excursions, that also includes a lot of things, including your meals. So for me personally, I spent about $1,000, $1,333, or slightly under that, with everything per week for about 6 weeks. So, and tuition wise, it was $6,000 about for the tuition, $1,000 for the airfare, and maybe an additional $1,000 for my meals, and also anything else that I wanted to do or to get for myself and for my friends and family. And the other fact was that I was in the city of Paris, so that was very cheap considering my location. So, and I did not feel bored. You're always on the go and you want to do something where you're in a different country, and I actually wish that I had more time to explore. So I would put that onto a note. Now this is my final tip for this video, the 5th tip. And my tip is, do not be afraid. I would like to state this. When I submitted my application, it was literally 2 weeks after the attack in Paris. However, I was highly encouraged by my advisor to still apply, as it would have been a wonderful experience and it would have been a shame for me to miss out on it. And personally, I am really happy that I still went for it. And again, with the music ed major, it is very hard and difficult to do a study abroad during the fall and spring semester. So either a winter, which would be very short, or a summer, which would be a longer studying time, were my only 2 options. So I'm actually very glad for it. I also remember that I will be able to experience a different culture and also to practice my French more and actually be able to eat good food and also to be at the monuments that I personally wanted to do. And I think about that if I didn't do it, I would actually have to go only during my vacation. And I wish that I had more time to study in France because you can't be in one country for like 6 weeks and expect to know everything. And that's the same with being in the country for probably a year. I don't, I mean, I've lived in the US for all my life actually, and I haven't been to every single state. I don't know every single town, every single person, every single shop in New Jersey. So that's one thing I would like to say. Have no regrets. And the next time I personally would be able to go would probably be on a vacation in the summer. Or if I'm lucky enough to be able to teach English in France and have time to explore on my days off or on the weekends. So overall, I hope you guys take these tips into consideration while looking into a study abroad program. If you would like to, feel free to subscribe down below and hit the like button. Until then, au revoir.